Greetings and salutations. Second Star right back with more Raid Shadow Legends. On screen here we have Leorius the Proud. He is a one of the newer Void champions. He's legendary. I don't have much luck with Void legendaries, but for some reason I did this time around, and I was able to pull a newer Void champion in Leorius, and he is a lot of fun to play with. I have him built up, decked out, ready to go. Took him through some content, and I'm very pleased with how he performs. A couple things before we start, though. I always like to include a quote on my thumbnails, and I can't put a whole lot in there. I have to be kind of pithy, right? Just for space concerns. But the common misconception is that male lions don't hunt, but they do. They can. They generally do leave it to the lionesses who are pack hunters, but the male lions will they're ambush predators. So they spend most of their time defending territory, but when the need arises, they can also hunt, but they just do it by themselves. They're ambush predators. So in case anyone was wondering, if they looked at that and said, hey, why does he have this hunt reference on his thumbnail when it's a male lion? And clearly they don't hunt. Well, clearly there have been a lot of research done since Lion King came out, I guess. I don't know. To be honest, I looked it up because I wanted to know. Raid leads you down strange paths sometimes. So anyway, I got through that rabbit warren of, do male lions actually hunt? I don't know. And I figured out they do, or they can. Anyway, moving on. Also, I was a bit disappointed that there was no Thundercats references to Leorius. I was hoping there'd be a little bit of Lion-O in there, but no. He's dual wielding, so no Sword of Omens, no Claw Shield. There's no skill that is sight beyond sight, so I guess Plarium did not choose to flex their pop culture muscle in this particular instance. But that is okay. Let's look and see what he actually does. Okay, so Lion's Twin Claws is A1, attacks the enemy twice. Each hit has a 60% chance of placing a decreased defense buff for 2 turns. Fantastic to have defense down or attack down or what have you on your A1. That's awesome. Also, that damage increases by 20% if the target has less than 60% hit points. And again, there's other skills that he has that also factor into this, right? So 3 books, you can increase that damage by 30%. As you can see, I have not booked Lion-O or Leorius. I have not booked him. I did not think it necessary. Most of his skills are just increasing damage, and I just, if he's doing enough damage, you don't need to do it. If I felt that he was hitting weekly, then maybe I would put some books into him, but I didn't find it necessary, so I didn't book them. Legendary books are pretty hard to come by, and while that particular resource is something that I have a surplus of at the moment, I know that's not true for every account. So I personally think that you can get by without booking this legendary. Rage of the Pride is his A2. Attacks all enemies twice, and also has a passive effect where this champion is immune to stuns, freeze, sleeps, provokes, fear, and true fear when the skill is not on cooldown. So it behooves you to use this skill. All right, even though all it really does is do an attack, 2 attacks, it does have a passive effect that makes him immune to crowd control abilities, which is kind of a cool benefit, right? And it does hit decently hard, and you can make it hit 30% harder with 3 books, just like you can with the A1. Now, his Awesome Roar is his A3, and this is a pretty cool skill. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, and you can't get it down to 3 turns, but it's natively 4 turns, and none of the books change that. So all it is either making it go from 80% to 100% and giving another 20% damage. So I personally think that 80% is a good enough rate that I didn't think that I needed to bump it up to 90 or 100% by adding books, because since it's random, they might just fall into the A1 and the A2, which are just damage. So I just felt I'm going to ignore it and not bother. I think 80% is a good baseline, and I'm okay with that. If you could potentially increase that to 85%, with your mastery selection. So there's also that route if you spec him in that regard. So attacks all enemies, 80% chance of placing True Fear for 1 turn, and before attacking has an 80% chance of placing you 25% weaken on all enemies for 2 turns. So it's 80%, which I think is good. True Fear and a weaken, great. That is a fantastic skill. An AoE True Fear, magnifique, really, really good. He also has this passive here called True Grit, where he places an unkillable debuff on this champion for 1 turn before receiving a fatal hit. Now that can happen every 4 turns, but also passively, the damage increases as this champion's hit points decreases by 1% for every 1% of hit points lost. So it's like has a built-in frenzy set, I guess, armor set. I'm assuming kind of like Umbrella Enchantress. I tested out on Umbrella Enchantress last year to see that the frenzy set does indeed stack with her A1 that increases as her hit points decreases. So it stands to reason, although I didn't test it, but I reason that if you had him in a frenzy set, then that passive would stack, and as his hit points declined, he would do more damage, both from his native passive and the bonus afforded by the frenzy set. So just something to think about. I don't think it's worth putting me in a frenzy set just to take advantage of this passive, but you know, who knows? Maybe it'd be awesome. I did not try it. Again, his aura, really one of my favorite auras, crit rate in all battles by 24% is great because it just makes gearing that much easier when you know you plan on using him as a lead, which is what I did. If we look at his total stats here, his crit rate is really low, 49%, but you add 24% on there, you get it up over 70%. Yeah, I prefer like 78% as my cutoff usually. This is pretty close, and you can increase it with masteries. So, yeah, and I guess it's already factored in. My masteries are already factored in, but still, 73% I guess is what it's sitting at around there, if my math is correct. And it might not be, not my strong suit. I'm much more of a verbal person than a math person. But regardless, I use him as team lead most of the time in most content, and he gets that extra 24% crit rate to add on to that. Crit damage 244%. So he's kind of built for arena. Obviously, his masteries to get to that point, I have him in what is it called? The crit damage one. Come on, guys. Why can't I remember it off the top of my head? Flawless execution. Yeah, so I have him more built for arena right now. In dungeon content, he's probably better off with War Master, but you know, I have him kind of set up for arena right now, as you can see with his shield breaker and everything. Yeah, and then the standard accuracy, lore stealing. Pretty basic arena build for this champion here. I do have some funky stuff going on right here. Is this looping around rather than getting methodical? I took kill streak. I just felt that this is what was going to benefit. It might not be what you would do, but it works, right? It works. He's a good champion, and I also have Whirlwind Death in there because he does a lot of damage and he racks up the kill count pretty significantly. So that's a good skill to take also. Let's go back to his total stats and let's look at that again. See if I left anything out. His resist, I didn't really. When I say build for arena, I don't build for resist. You know, one of those things. Accuracy 270. I definitely want him to land his spears when the time arises. His attack is under 4,000. I tried to get to 4,000, but it just wasn't happening with the gear that I had. But I feel that this particular layout is good. There's, at least 35,000 hit points is usually a good baseline to have. He will need some support to stay alive, but that's okay. And then 185 speed is malleable. It depends on what your team is and where your buffs lie. It would have probably behooved me to slow him down a little bit because of who I was running him with. They were a bit slower, but it's okay. It works fine. I can get through the content that I want to get through with this, and I have him in a fatal set. Perception and divine speed to get where I'm going, and I also threw on one of my clan versus clans critical hit and a normal hit when being attacked before the first turn, again for arena purposes. That's pretty much where that shines the most, I found. Oh, look, I didn't finish this accuracy one. I can still do that a bit more. All right, I will do that at some other point when I'm in an artifact enhancement event. I'll finish that off. Okay, so let's see where he functions best. All right, let's take him through his paces. Let's see what we have going here first. And here. Alright, so here we have Ice Golems. Again, this is 20. I feel 20 is a pretty good farming level. I think getting up to 25 is an adventure, but it takes a long time to just whittle down all those champions. So I just don't do it. I just don't have the time. Usually I only farm when there's an event and time is of the essence, and I don't want to spend 9 minutes getting through level 25 dungeons when I can get through a level 20 dungeon significantly faster. In 9 minutes is often optimistic, right? I think some of my level 25s are like 18 minutes or 14 minutes, stuff like that. It's crazy. It's crazy long time how long it takes to get through that content. It drives me nuts. So generally, just don't bother. It's so much faster just to do 20. Since the points you get is based on your artifacts, and you get a decent drop rate, I think, of 6 stars at this level, that it doesn't really matter as you increase. It's just for quest completion purposes as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so this is of course the most problematic level. These reflect damage that they have on these terror beasts, pain in the butt. Yeah, you see, he had to trigger his passive, or his active passive skill. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but he saved himself from the fatal hit of hitting the terror beast by triggering that. So we spared Duchess having to revive him at that particular point. And interestingly, in this team composition, so I have Duchess leading. He's leading. Forget his crit rate bonus. We also have Duchess and Doom Priest as support, because this boss fight just kind of spews out a lot of debuffs, and they're kind of irritating ones too. Freezes are a pain, right? But between Duchess and Doom Priest, we hardly suffer this fate, and so bringing Dark Elaine, who is her specialty, is pretty much this boss fight. Like, her specialty is against Torment teams in Arena, or Yannicka teams, wherever she's the freeze one, right? Those teams in Arena, it's kind of her specialty to unfreeze everybody and then counterattack. But she doesn't really get the opportunity with Duchess and Doom Priest here, so she's just kind of hanging out, not doing a whole lot. She still does her skills and stuff, but it's not with the frequency that she has when she's not running with almost complete isolation and being cocooned away from being frozen. So Dark Elaine is, this is kind of like her fight. She's not really putting it out in this team composition. So just something to keep in mind, if you're thinking about taking Dark Elaine in there, if they're not getting frozen, she's not living up to her full potential. So, having talked about Dark Elaine for most of the time, you see that our friend here, Leorius, is taking his lumps, but he's also dishing it out. We got a nice True Fear. It didn't stick because he got killed immediately, but he's laying into it. He is doing a good job dishing out some damage, and he's just saved himself again. It didn't last again, but we do have a reviver. But you see that that active passive that he has, that extra skill he has, does save his butt quite a bit. And he landed another fear in the minion. Now again, because he's spec'd for Arena, he'd do more damage against the boss if I had him spec'd in War Master, but I just don't. But it's okay, because going through minions, I think the crit damage is nice against the minions there. And he did over 2 million damage here. He, lapping a lot of the other ones. Chiani did brought the pain too, but Leorius, with those 2 AoE attacks, can really bring up the numbers. And he saves himself a lot with his passive, and he brings some great debuffs. I think that he's definitely just a good champion to bring along in dungeons. Here he is in Spiders. Again, he's I think Lyssandra's actually the lead in this. I think I speed lead Lysandra, and Leorius is just kind of coming along for the ride in this one. Yeah, Lyssandra's lead and Leorius is just there to fear some spiders occasionally and bring in some AOE damage to the spiderlings. Ignatius, of course, is the carry here. Coldheart, we all know that what she does against bosses, especially in Spider and Mystery Monster. This is a really, really good spider team. 2 minutes. My best time is 104 when I go more offense and no defense whatsoever. I think I can't remember what that 1 minute team was, but 2 minutes is fine for Spider. You know, it's super safe. I don't come close to dying ever. 100% pass rate. It's fine. This team and Leorius is good to because occasionally my Coldheart will be killed by the spiderlings, and Leorius usually fears enough where that doesn't come into play. All right, and next we have, this is his results in Fire Knight. 352. Not a great time, but again, Fire Knight can be tricky. You know, it depends on where your Coldheart is in her rotation to take down the boss, and how fast your team is. This is a pretty slow team that I have here. Mostly defensive. I'm just Coldheart is the main focus here, but Leorius helps you get through the waves a lot faster. I will put some teams together through here that just have a hard time chewing through the waves. There's a lot of high defense, high hit point champions that you go up against on the way to the Fire Knight. So I find Leorius is a really good addition there. And he has a 2-hit A1. So here in Arena, I've picked out 2 tricky arena fights that I had here. This one has the double rezzers and a Rosh card, which is a pain in the butt. Fortunately, their offense is geared mostly around Gallic, so you know he can hit Gallic builds are hit and miss. It just kind of depends. So I'm trying to decide what to go first. Rosh card's already shielded here, so I did want to fear though. Maybe I can save myself some damage. And I have hope there at the end to remove debuffs, but this is a pretty high resist team, and I actually fail a lot on that. But you know, let's give it a shot. So, but that's why I have hope in the team. I love hope in Arena. Hope is fantastic. Really, really good buff stripper. So my focus here is I know I have to get the rezzers down, right? So I have to watch. I have to watch when Gorgorab uses his animate, because he doesn't always. Because animate is a heal also, so he could use it when no one's dead. So if I can time it out just right, I can get it so that I can decide who to kill first, whether Scylla the Drakes or Gorgorab, because they both have to go down relatively quickly with one another. And having Rosh card, of course, makes that difficult because he's shielding them from damage for 2 turns. So I have to stay alive, watch who I'm damaging, what their damage is, what skill use Gorgorab has for his animate, and if I can time it just right, then I can take down the team. But it's just tough, and a lot of times I'm going to have to use skills that I don't want to use because I'm not damaging them for their secondary effect. Like if someone's low health, like right here, I used Provoke from Tormund because he has Leorius has 1 hit point, right? He's on the verge of death. But if I can provoke everyone towards Tormund, and again he's veiled too, but I wasn't sure, where that would last, what the timing all was going to be. So I thought the provoke was safe to do it right then to try to spare him a little bit, and then turn around and maybe hope Shield can come in and save it. Last resort, of course, I can always have Duchess so I can res, but his passive didn't trigger at that time. That's just luck. But it's okay. He's back up, and we're good. And hopefully they just don't have the damage output to consistently keep my Leorius down, because he's my big damage dealer. All right, so I ignored my my A2 because again it's just damage, and everyone was shielded up by Rosh card, so I didn't bother. I just used my A1, even though I knew it was going to be completely ineffective. I did put a defense down though on Sile, so that's good. All right, and again, I try to strip everyone's buffs. Can't do it. They have pretty high resist. I get Sile down, which is good, but now I have to keep an eye on Gorgorab and see what he's going to do. Actually, I think this is the second time that I've gotten Sile down. I think Gorgorab already revived her once, but I was blabbing about something else. Regardless, I stuck through it, and here we go. Okay, now both the revivers are down, and now it's all just academic. I'm going to win because the revivers are down, and I have the heals, and I have a reser also. So now it's just a matter of eating through Oshguard. Right, and Leorius brings some pretty heavy DPS, pretty heavy damage, especially in arena. I mean, maybe he'd do better with rather than flawless execution with the Helm Smasher, possibly the ignored defense. But I usually like to double down. I usually put them in Helm Smash, give them Helm Smasher when they have and a Savage set, whatever, when they already have a skill that ignores defense. I like to my champions to double down on their abilities, and since he didn't have that, I put him in crit damage instead. And at 244% crit, it's not a bad way to go. Okay, so he did almost 200,000 damage there, and as you can see, my power is 130, and Chloe 08 here was running 191. So I had significant power disadvantage in this fight, but I think mostly that was due to the resist. I think they just had like a lot of resist on that team. Okay, and I think I have one more cool arena fight to show you. Yeah, so I'm going up against Brogni and Duchess, which is a team I would ordinarily just avoid like the plague because it just doesn't seem worth it. And they have Ninja, so they're dealing out a lot of damage. And a Lady Kimmy, who brings a lot of cool skills to the table. This is a difficult fight. And then I'm trying to decide, do I want to rage? Do I want to just deal some damage? Or do I want to try to fear them? Evidently, there was a reflect damage up there somewhere that I didn't see, and I attacked and killed myself. All right, so I'm pretty sure that was my A2 because that's the one that doesn't have any skill effects because Duchess had their block debuffs up. So I killed myself with my A2, but Duchess was there to revive me. So thank you. Tormund revived himself with his passive. I'm really taking some hits here. This team is no joke. So Hope, I'm going to shield up, extend my debuffs. And then now I have it's a good opportunity for me to try to fear. So there I A3, and I get some good fears out. And two of them get triggered. The Ninja and Lady Kimmy were prevented from acting that turn, so that was good. Oh, and also Brogni. Brogni also was subjected to the fear. That's good. That's good. A lot of times I feel like fear is unfair, and I get feared much more than my opponents do. But as you can see in this one, it's pretty much going in my favor. Little bit of a mistake there. I probably should have attacked Duchess rather than bring down Brogni, but it doesn't matter. It's possible that knocking him out for that one turn, maybe that made him do one less skill. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. All right, and then there's the damage hit. Pretty decent damage for AoE. I did over 10k on everyone, it looked like. Okay, where are we going here? All right. Again, I can't land my block debuffs from Hope. The Duchess thing is a very high resist Duchess. All right, so veil as much as I can, but Hope had a block buff up there, so that was unfortunate. And I got 2 lucky crits against Duchess and was able to take out Duchess with my A1. That was really, really fortunate. Now I'll shield up with Hope and see if we can take out Ninja. Almost. So close. Unfortunately, he went for Tormund. It must have been provoked. And then I got a Fear landed on him that Hope's going to hit. And then Duchess. And good night, Brogni. And I was able to beat that team with Brogni and Duchess on there when they had 35,000 more team power than I did. So again, and that's Leorius doing 238,000 damage. You know, he's just a good champion. Granted, he's a rare legendary, and he's not going to pop up for everybody. I understand that, but you know, maybe if he's offered as like a double summons event, maybe it's worth trying some void shards. When Leorius is up, because he's a really fun champion. He's good everywhere, right? I have no reservations taking him into any content. He's just good at what he does, brings up some really good buffs, can save himself occasionally, does more damage the lower his hit points are, versatile, You really can't go wrong with Leorius. He's really, really good damage dealer. What can you say, man? Some legendaries are lackluster, and I would not put him in that number. I think Leorius is a really good champion to invest in, and you don't even really need to book him if you don't want to. I could, up his damage by 30%, which would be nice. Maybe things would be even easier. But if you want to save your books for a different champion, maybe some legendaries that require a lot of books, Leorius only takes 9, I think, which isn't bad, but I just don't think they're necessary. I think the only, it would be nice to book his fear rate up to 100% from 80%, but you could potentially have to invest 9 books to do that, so why bother? So as you can see, he functions pretty good without books. So that's my summation of Leorius, my essay, the exploration of Leorius as a champion. He's fun, man. He's definitely one of my go-tos right now in Doom Tower and everywhere. You can get through all the waves. Awesome champion. Really, really, really solid. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, throw me a like. I would appreciate it. Comment down below if you have experienced Leorius yourself, how you feel about it. If you had a different build that worked better or worked differently, let me know. If you tried him in a frenzy set, let me know what kind of damage you can scale up to. All these things, good to hear. And if you want to see more, subscribe. That would be fantastic. Comment down below, whatever. I appreciate it, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video, whenever that may be. All right, have fun. See you later. Bye.